Imagine stepping outside your home one quiet morning in the remote jungles of Borneo, stretching, yawning, feeling the humid air on your skin, and then looking up to see cats, actual living cats, gracefully drifting down from the sky under tiny parachutes. And then imagine thinking, well, that's new. Believe it or not, this exact scenario played out in 1960. No, it wasn't a military experiment. No, it wasn't a bizarre magic trick. And no, the cats were not volunteering for the world's first airborne feline battalion. This was Operation Cat Drop, one of the strangest and most misunderstood events in ecological history. But to understand how the Royal Air Force ended up dropping cats from airplanes like they were care packages in a battle royale game, we have to roll the tape back to the very start, the 1950s, when humanity thought it had outsmarted nature. Nature kindly responded, "Hold my beer. Welcome to the Obscurity Vault. Let's begin." Part 1. The mosquito problem. In the mid-20th century, the island of Borneo had a major malaria problem. A deadly one. Mosquitoes were everywhere, breeding in puddles, swamps, rice fields, anything that held 3 drops of water. And they carried malaria parasites that tore through communities. People were getting sick, entire villages were struggling, and public health officials were desperate. So, like any era of overconfident human innovation, they pulled out their favorite tool, chemical warfare. But for bugs, this weapon was DDT. In the 1950s, DDT wasn't controversial. It wasn't seen as dangerous. It was marketed as the miracle chemical that would save the world from malaria, typhus, lice, bedbugs, and basically anything with a pulse smaller than a mouse. Governments loved it. Scientists praised it. And the public treated it like magic dust you could sprinkle on your problems. So officials in Borneo started coating the inside walls of homes with it. Just painted entire longhouses in an invisible chemical force field. Mosquitoes landed, got nuked instantly, and the humans thought, well, we nailed it. Problem solved. If only, because DDT's fatal flaw is that it kills mosquitoes, and basically everything else too. Part 2. The unexpected victims. Let's talk about unintended targets. First, insects other than mosquitoes started dying. Not surprising, since DDT is the equal opportunity employer of pesticides. But that created a domino effect. A really stupid domino effect. You see, some of those insects helped maintain the structural health of traditional thatched roofs. They kept pests under control. They decomposed organic matter in predictable ways. They were invisible but important parts of the ecosystem. So when DDT wiped out all sorts of good and bad bugs indiscriminately, roofs started degrading faster. More repairs were suddenly needed. People blamed the dry season, the wet season, ghosts, anything except the pesticide. But that was just the warm-up. The next casualty, geckos. These little lizards are everywhere in tropical homes. They sit on walls and ceilings eating insects now soaked with DDT. And because DDT builds up in tissues instead of breaking down, the geckos slowly turned into walking toxic sponges. Some died quickly. Some developed neurological issues. Some just slowed down so much they became easy prey. And that brings us to the furry heroes or victims of our tale, the cats. Cats, being cats, saw slow-moving geckos and thought, free snacks. And this is where nature face-bombed so hard it echoed across the rainforest. The cats ate the poisoned geckos. The cats groomed themselves after brushing against sprayed walls. The cats lived among insects crawling with DDT residue. And guess what happens when you mix all of that? Cats started dying. Not in huge cinematic heaps like the exaggerated version of the story, but enough that some villages suddenly lost a very important ally. Because when a village loses its cats, something terrible happens next. Part 3. The rise of the rats. When cats vanish, rats celebrate like it's Mardi Gras. Rats, already living alongside humans, suddenly realized the predators were gone. No more nighttime ambushes. No more furry landlords telling them to get lost. In one area, the Kelebit Highlands, rats absolutely exploded. Not figuratively, literally. They multiplied so fast villagers said it felt like the ground moved when you walked at night. Rats invaded houses. Rats ate harvested rice. Rats chewed through baskets with tools, clothing, you name it. Rats spread diseases. Rats made life miserable. The villagers did everything. Traps, poison, dogs, banging pots, building rat walls, sleeping with torches lit. But without cats, it was a losing battle. It was like trying to stop a flood with a mop. Now this is where the story takes a turn from mildly concerning ecological imbalance to what the actual hell, humanity. Because the villagers sent word through the limited communication channels they had. Our rats are out of control. We need help. And the authorities, British colonial administrators and the Royal Air Force, looked at the problem, looked at the mountains, looked at the jungle, looked at the near impossible terrain, and said the most beautifully chaotic sentence in bureaucratic history: we're going to have to fly the cats in. Part 4. The Cat Drop. Picture this. It's March 13th, 1960. RAF pilots are loading up supplies, food, medicine, equipment, the usual stuff they parachute into remote villages. Except this time, they're also loading cats in crates with parachutes attached. Find me any other moment in world history where a government ordered a feline airdrop. Just one. I'll wait. The RAF packed roughly 24 cats for the operation. Not thousands, not tens of thousands, despite the legendary exaggerations you've probably heard. These were just 24 confused, slightly annoyed cats who were about to become the most badass pest control drop team the world has ever seen. The plane reached the drop zone. The rear hatch opened. The crates were pushed out. And down they went, drifting toward the village like they were participating in some bizarre government-sponsored parachuting competition. Now imagine you are a villager. You're standing there with baskets of rice, staring at the sky, and thinking, what fresh madness has arrived today? And then suddenly you see it, parachutes blossoming in the distance, cats descending majestically, every child screaming with excitement, every adult trying to figure out how to explain this to their grandchildren later. When the crates landed, the cats were released. They were alive, safe, probably furious, but ready to work. And work they did, because within weeks, the rat population dipped. Food stores stabilized. Diseases eased. Balance returned. The villagers were grateful. The RAF was relieved. The cats just did what cats do. But the story wasn't done. Not even close. Part 5. The Birth of a Legend. Here's where Operation Cat Drop enters mythology. Over the decades, the story got retold again and again. And each time someone told it, they added a little extra spice. It became a case study in systems thinking, in ecology courses, in environmental activism, in TED Talks. People started saying things like, 14,000 cats were dropped. Who dropped them across all of Borneo? Every cat died from DDT. The rats caused plague outbreaks. The entire operation was global. None of this was true. But the story had become too powerful, too delicious, too symbolic to resist. It became the ecological version of a fairy tale, a simple story to teach a complicated lesson. The real lesson is valid. When you mess with one part of an ecosystem, you set off reactions you didn't even know existed. But the legend, the meme, hijacked reality. Part 6. Myth versus reality. So let's set the record straight. Did the WHO drop 14,000 cats? Nope. Did thousands of cats die from DDT? Nope. Did Borneo become an island ruled by rats until cats parachuted in like a commando squad? Also no. Here's what really happened. A local cat population dropped due to pesticide exposure. Rats surged. A specific village in a remote region needed cats. The RAF dropped 24 of them. The operation succeeded. The story grew bigger than the event itself. Rather than a large-scale, continent-wide ecological catastrophe, the real operation was a targeted fix for one community facing a severe local rat problem. But why does the myth persist? Because the image of parachuting cats is too powerful to die. It perfectly captures the absurdity of human overconfidence, our belief that we can just fix nature with chemicals and hope for the best. Nature doesn't work like that. Nature is complicated, interconnected, chaotic in subtle ways. Operation Cat Drop became famous precisely because it sounds like what happens when humans try to speedrun biology without reading the patch notes. Part 7. What Operation Cat Drop teaches us. This story, the real one, teaches 3 big lessons. First, ecosystems are webs, not lines. Pull one string and 3 others come loose. DDT didn't just kill mosquitoes. It shifted predator-prey dynamics. It weakened structures. It destabilized habits and behaviors. It unintentionally caused the very problem it needed cats to fix. Second, intervention is never simple. You can solve one problem while creating 2 more. Third, sometimes the solution to a high-tech disaster is hilariously low-tech. All the chemicals, scientists, planners, budgets, and bureaucrats in the world, and the final answer ended up being, drop some cats on it. There's beauty in that irony. But there's also caution, because if we don't pay attention to the chain reactions we cause, we'll be parachuting a whole lot more than cats in the future. Operation Cat Drop is one of those stories that sticks with you. Not because it was large, but because it was weird, because it was real, because no matter how many times you hear it, your brain still says, there's no way that happened, but it did. It's a reminder that the world is stranger, funnier, and more interconnected than we think. And sometimes, the solution to ecological collapse is a plane full of very confused cats. This is the Obscurity Vault. And if you think parachuting cats is the weirdest thing humans have done, oh, trust me, we've barely scratched the surface. If you would like to support me on Patreon, click the link in the description.